talking a little bit, but
That's okay. And you know, I this brings up a question that I have because I listened to the album not speaking Spanish, not understanding, but it still made me feel something. So it just it was yeah, okay, and that's the most important thing in music. Really, is for somebody to be able to feel something outside of whether or not they understand it. This is what's great about great instrumental music too. You know, jazz and so forth, is that it makes you feel something instinctively. You don't have to speak the language to have it connect with you and make you, because it was very emotionally powerful, even if I did not understand the words. Now, from a again, a compositional sort of thing, do you guys, how does it really all come together for you? Because you have a story that you're wanting to tell, you have something you're wanting to communicate, but then it's also being communicated through the music. So were you guys often collaborating together in the studio? Were you rehearsing separately before you even got there? I mean, how did these pieces sort of come together?
I mean, in my opinion, it's a result of a lot of years of playing music. Like Prince of Queens was just saying, like, we met each other before in other projects, and I feel like all that carries out to where we are right now, because we're familiar with languages, with styles, and we have played so much that, like, we have created this common dialogue, common language, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And for this particular album, it was a result of interacting, like jamming, you know, going through grooves and melodies. But it was also the result of just, you know, improvising in the studio, you know, and, you know, trying to come up with things in the studio, you know. So we brought tunes that we had previously worked on, and then in the studio we did, like, you know, just producing, you know. And so a lot of the things came through last minute, actually, and it was pretty nice, you know, to, like, be open to whatever comes out, you know. And so yeah, this album is definitely a combination of you know, having recorded, like, previous albums, having toured, and us coming together, you know, consciously to write songs, and, like I said, just, you know, letting the mind and just being the creativity come through, you know, naturally in the studio. It's a very interesting place to create. Many times you're always in a rush to, like, record, because financially you
time
want
is money.
to,
Yeah.
right. This time we were lucky to have a little more time to interact in the studio, you know, to have a few days to you know, settle and just play, and, you know, come up with ideas, you know, in the studio.
So I'm curious. Yeah, please.
Yeah, no, I think what Dilema is saying is totally right, but I think, like, to what you were saying about feeling the music and not understanding Spanish, I think it also speaks to how, like, what the music, that's how we write the songs. Like, we have ideas and concepts, but we don't write, like, the lyrics or the name of the song. Like, the music is really what guides us. So it's like the rhythm and the grooves and the melodies. That's at the heart of it. Okay. And then we embellish it with, you know, with the concepts that we've been developing. But it's the music that really speaks to us. So it's really just the grooves. Like, we're, like, a very kind of loopy groove band. So so most of Dilema Astronauta's rhythm is kind of a really big starting point for most of the music that we make. And then, but it's the music is the first thing, the sound. So maybe that's why you get it.
Well, yeah, probably. And there's something specifically also about the guitar sound on this album that I absolutely love. There's just that style. And how did you come to that? How did that have you? I mean, who did you like listen to growing up, and who were you kind of inspired by as far as your playing style goes?
You know, growing up, I was listening to a lot of like punk, hardcore. But in the background, there was always some cumbia and some like tropical stuff happening, you know. So, but basically a lot of like Colombian guitar players, Peruvian, also some a lot of Afrobeat too. A lot of music from the Caribbean. The electric guitar in Latin America and the Caribbean has like very deep story, and that's kind of what I've been listening to, and that's kind of what influences my style of the way I play. Yeah.
Well, and there's something to this style that that is fluid sounding, and yet it's filled with all sorts of sharp angles too. Like somehow at the same time it encompasses all of that. And is that a specific like Latin and South American sort of or Caribbean kind of thing? Because you kind of it just feels like, I don't know, rock guitar here has a very specific sound, or punk guitar has a very specific sound, and it's all, or well, I shouldn't say all, but a lot of it, maybe outside of surf music or something, is very is very just kind of like sharp and staccato and very angular, or something like that. But there's somehow that style of playing you have on this album incorporates all of that with that sort of more, I would say, I keep using the word organic, but it's something that moves. It's very, very fluid and has more of a dance feel at the same time almost.
Yeah, it
makes you just kind of want to move around with it.
Right, yeah. It has to do with the way people approach the electric guitar in the Caribbean, as I said, Africa, Latin America. And those are the sounds that I like and that I'm always thinking of when I play. Like, I'm thinking about those sounds that I like, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I cannot say that, like, give you like a technical or theoretical explanation of
I wouldn't get it anyway.
I guess it's
not a big theory guy,
it's based on the spirit, you know, like the rhythm. It's very strong. It's based on the rhythm, so I'm trying to groove, trying to connect with what's going on with whatever they are playing. So
so your playing is as informed by Dilemma's playing and by Prince's
exactly
playing?
Yeah, try to give space to them and try to support like the rhythmic part. Sometimes I try to be more like melodic, trying to follow the listen to the voice, and that's kind of how my approach to the songs, you know, like to the music.
Well, and it sounds like, from what you guys are saying so far, that you have sort of a sketch as you go in, or you have some compositions as you go in, and again, you just sort of let them evolve and kind of work with each other. Do you find that the evolution continues onto the stage as well?
Well, I think one of the things that are more important on how we write is that we have a lot of respect for each other. Like we respect how each of us, like, the work that they put on their instrument, like, each of us is like very, like, I really respect all of them, so that helps the music because, you know, there's a lot of freedom also, and so yeah, that's it.
And to your point, yeah, I absolutely, the improvisation and the experimentation continues after the studio, and especially I think with this new record, we kind of intentionally went to the studio not having all the record written out. And we wrote half of it in the studio, and we were deliberately not trying to think like, oh, how are we gonna play this live, because we knew we were gonna make some cool version for the live show, which was also cool, you know. It was like another way of also creating, because for us, I mean, one thing is being in the studio and trying to capture and in a place and a time and a moment, but for us, I think the live show is incredibly important. I think for me personally, it's how I really it's why I like to make music, you know, so I can perform it. So like some of the songs on the record for this tour, we're like, okay, how are we gonna do it? I don't know. Well, so some of the songs, for example, in the live show, they're like twice as long, you know, that in the record.
Yeah.
But that's cool, you know. We kind of embrace that.
Is that kind of what like keeps you all interested in playing together and how exciting the music is? Just that whole.
To me, like the songs are finished when we play in front of people. To me, it's key to interact with the audience, to see how they react to the songs, to see how they react to my rhythms, to see how much they dance or they don't. To me, that's very informative. Like that. It's not that I'm going to like change everything for the audience, but I'm definitely really taking into consideration how they react to the music we play. And when you're in the studio, you're not necessarily thinking about that. You're really thinking about how to make the song sound good in a very synthetic environment.
Yeah, it can be almost like sterilized things if you're not careful. Yeah.
So you can really you can go crazy in the studio and you can start layering things, and that's what happened, But when you play in front of people, you're just trying to transmit how you feel directly, You're not really thinking about, So it's to me, it's the ultimate challenge is just to take that idea that you have in the studio, try to portray it and to perform it in front of real people,
Well, and do you ever find yourselves? You seem to be, at least it sounds like you're very in tune with your audience. So, do you ever find that you'll stay in a groove for a little while because you notice the audience engaging with you? Or
that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's like those moments where you're like, they're dancing and screaming.
So keep that going.
You're like, maybe they should have it a little more.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the whole idea of the show, it's for us is becoming, we're generating some sort of energy that it's coming from somewhere and we're feeling it, and it's getting translated into the public, and they're amplifying it in a way, and I think Carolina kind of really leads the ritual in connecting the two and amplifying what we're doing into a larger. I mean, sometimes the audience, I think of them, even though I don't look at the audience too much, and I'm kind of like, they're in a way they could really be an amplifier of the music that we're making,
Well, and so to transition just a little bit, how much of an impact on this record and on your playing right now is environmental? How much of it is the political climate right now? How much of it is what's kind of like going on? Do you absorb that at all into the story you're trying to tell?
You say something? Yeah.
Your question is how much impact does the what's happening?
Yeah, how
specifically
much
political or?
Well, I mean, kind of all of it, really, right? I mean, it's really hard to ignore right now the overwhelming climate of intolerance and there's a lot of things going on both sides, it feels like, and there's just this palpable tension brewing amongst people, and how I'm curious as to how that seeps into how the outside world like that seeps into the more insular world of creating music.
I'm not the kind of musician that goes out to tell people what to do or who to vote for or how to feel about, obviously I'm behind the drums and and I'm not that kind of fella oriented mentality, I'm not, but I do feel like the artistic statement that you create as an immigrant with immigrant people, it's to me it's and I hope that it brings a message to those who are looking at doing something but don't feel strong enough to do it, to encourage that, to create spaces where creativity bring people together, where music brings people together regardless of their political orientation. To create a space where interaction among people and the music goes beyond any political orientation that you might have. To me, that's what art